question I've been thinking about for many years. Why do some real estate agents quickly rise to the top and become the #1 top 1% producing real estate agents in their markets, while some real estate agents and most real estate agents stay average or even have to quit working as a realtor in general? Over the last half a decade, I've spoken to thousands of real estate agents personally one-on-one about their real estate business, and I've worked with hundreds of real estate agents. And today I'm going to share with you the most important patterns and differences I found that unites all the top producers but the average agents lack. And what I want to do here is to take you inside of the mind of a top producing real estate agent and really show you what it is, how it works, and how it is fundamentally different pretty much in every way, shape, and form from the average realtor's mind. Because behind that success, it isn't magic, it isn't random. There's always cause and effect. There are actions people have taken in their lives that have profound impacts on their lives that have allowed them to become successful. It did not happen by chance. It happened by taking specific actions. Now, what causes somebody to take an action is thinking, analysis, it's rationalizing, it's viewing things in a certain way and then making trade-offs based off that every single day. And the piece of you that's responsible for that is your mind. And so if you reverse engineer this thing back, actions create success, thoughts create actions, and then the mind creates the thoughts. And then really what's the base of this whole thing is success is actually in the mind and your mental function and how your mind works. And so that's exactly why this has been a real point of obsession for me to study these top producers, study successful people, and not just real estate agents, but really successful people in virtually every different field, from Jeff Bezos and Amazon and all the way back to Elon Musk and Tesla. And to really pull apart their minds and decode their minds and figure out how they work and why it has enabled them to see things more clearly than the average person or an average real estate agent. And then therefore make those better decisions and take those better actions, which is how they came to get to where they are right now. So after analyzing thousands of real estate agents' marketing systems and seeing how they're doing from some of the top 50 real estate teams in the whole United States and average real estate agents in day-to-day business, I've been able to reverse engineer this back to specific things not only top producers do, but what you can do starting right now today to dramatically improve the actions you take on a daily basis. And that's going to dramatically help you with growing your real estate business, building your real estate business, and overall become a better real estate agent and a successful one as well. Now, the core thing that I've found is that there are core layers to every real estate agent's minds that stack up on top of one another. And there are huge differences in these layers between top producers and average real estate agent in these exact layers. Just like if you imagine you build a house, there are layers in the house. At the bottom of it, you have foundations of the house. Then you obviously have the structure of the house. You have the walls, you have the roof, and also you of course have the furniture. Now, most real estate agents are very focused on the surface level of the house, which is things like creating social media graphics, a website, learning FISBO scripts, or sending out mailers, or doing follow-up. And so what the average agents are doing is that they're kind of like only focused on the furniture of the house. They don't even have a roof yet. They don't have the walls yet. They don't have the foundation of the house yet. But they're trying to figure out, okay, what would be a great TV here? Or what would be a great sofa here? Or how can I buy the new designer seats here, right? And trying to do all these things while missing all those other things in the actual house. And these layers, I found that there are 5 main layers that everybody really has. And the top producers have all these 5 really solid, well built, and they're kind of like full stack real estate agents. They're kind of like full stack houses if you think about it in a way. While the average real estate agents will usually have one of these, maybe 2 of these going pretty well for them, but then the rest of them are kind of lacking in some point, and that's really what's bottlenecking their businesses. So let's talk about what these layers are and how you can leverage them and build them up. Now, the first layer is cognition. Everything starts with you. This is the ground layer of your business. This is the foundation behind the whole thing. This is your personal identity, who you think you are as a person and as a real estate agent. It's how you think, it's how you view the world, and how disciplined you are. Now, we can break cognition down to a couple different layers. Well, we'll first start off with the self-awareness. How aware are you of yourself? How aware are you of your thoughts? How well are you able to see yourself from that sort of like third person bird's eye view? Then we can also get identity. So this is your self-image. The images delusions you have about yourself can really be very limiting, or they can also be empowering. You also have your belief systems. Your beliefs can be very limiting, or they can be very empowering. And you must start working here and flush out any delusions you have, any beliefs you have that are kind of holding you back, and increase your level of general awareness. And this is a bit more complicated thing to understand in the sense that this is very high level. So I'll give you an example here. Most people are on social media consuming random information all day long, getting pulled in millions of different directions. No thoughts of their own. They're unable to focus, they're unable to commit, they're unable to execute consistently. This is the reality of the average person's life right now. Now, all the top producing listing agents are focused machines who have the baseline foundational capability to focus. They have the capability to think clearly, plan ahead, and execute consistently without deviating and getting pulled into different directions and different sidelines, such as I just mentioned. They are self-aware, so when they start looking at social media, they notice, okay, well, maybe I should not look at social media. I've been looking at it a little bit here, right? But I understand that if I have this goal that I have here and I start looking at social media, that's going to deviate me from my goal, and I'm not going to be able to get to my goals. So therefore, they're able to be aware about that, right? They're able to understand, okay, this feels good right now, but long term, this won't be the way I want to go to. I don't want to sacrifice my goals for social media, and therefore they go back and again focus back on their plan and on their goals. So that's a great example of sort of how cognition affects your mind, because if you don't have these things, you don't have awareness, you don't have the discipline, you are not able to have that plan, right? Well, what you would do in that situation is you would then get into the sidelines and then keep consuming social media. So that's why it's so important to be able to have this point in place, because you could have the best plan in the world, or you could have the best strategy in the world, but if you get deviated from that plan, you're still going to fail if this is not optimized properly. So top producing real estate agents are self-aware and aware of those dynamics that happen in their minds, but also in the marketplace in general. Now, the second layer I want to cover is going to be the mental models. Mental models make up the second layer, and they are what you use for decision making, thinking, and planning. To get real estate clients and to grow your real estate business, you need to know how to think in systems and how to holistically understand yourself, your real estate business, and how all the different aspects of these things interconnect together. You have to know the principles behind the scaling aspect of the business. You have to understand things like compounding, systems throughput, entropy, opportunity costs, second and third order consequences, financial models, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of mental models that are all highly successful people actually in general, and all the top producing real estate agents in the real estate business know and utilize in their business that most people are not even aware that they exist. But anyone really kind of talks about this. You rarely hear people just talking about mental models in the business context, but this is the reality of it. Most successful people have the same exact models they kind of use to think and make decisions off from. So quick example to illustrate this. Let's say you decide to try out a new marketing strategy, and let's say you have the first layer, the cognition, that's going well for you. You have great condition, you're self-aware, you plan ahead, you're able to stay disciplined, and you have no problem focusing on the strategy and implementing it. So you plan ahead, you have no issues executing it, and then you do it for 2 weeks, but you actually don't see any results. You don't get any listings yet. So therefore, you decide to quit. Now, the reason why you were failing with the strategy actually could have nothing to do with the actual strategy. The fact is that the strategy would have worked for you had you kept doing it maybe for 2 months or 3 months. But because you didn't understand things like compounding and second and third order consequences and continued for another month or 2, right, you weren't able to do that. But the fact is, if you would have understood the statistical probabilities, different timelines and everything else, and also understanding sort of the time aspect of these things, right, that could have been your best marketing campaign ever, and it would have allowed you to scale your business to that next level. Now, I would say this is one of the biggest problems for real estate agents, especially right now with all these different methods, all these different platforms available for client acquisition, because they try a lot of things for very short periods of time. They kind of half-ass it, so maybe put up one thing, or maybe create one TikTok or something else, and because they don't see immediate results, immediate listings, immediate clients, immediate commissions, they kind of quit and then move on to the next thing. And you could say this is called like shiny object syndrome, because there's so many things available right now, right? right? And people just jump from one thing to another instead of just sticking with one strategy. So the difference between winners and losers in today's world is that winners think for both of these things. They think short term, they're able to see, okay, well, this campaign is going this well, I should expect about this click-through rate, I should expect about this cost for my advertising, I should expect about this kind of a cost for my leads, and so on and so forth, right? They're able to think short term, understand that, okay, well, I'm running this campaign, this is how it's going right now, but they're able to also see long term. They're able to see, okay, well, maybe right now it's not appropriate for me to get a listing after a week of running this, right? But they're able to understand that, okay, it's only been a week, right? I'm gonna keep running this for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and understand that when those numbers kind of add up from that month or two, right, that's when I'm going to get the listing. So I'll be patient and keep running it. So this is extremely important that you understand these things and that you're aware about these things, because otherwise you could have, again, quit things like that are working really well, and you end up missing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars, not even talking about the ad spend or spend on different things like you do for your marketing, right, to set these things up. Another example of these mental models is systems thinking. So most agents fear spending money on their advertising or client generation. So a lot of people tend to think that, okay, less spending is better. And there's the truth to that, right? Of course, you want to have as little spend as possible and the highest ROI as possible. But to give you another example, let's say you stick with that campaign I mentioned earlier, right? And now you spend yourself $2,000 on your advertising, as example on social media. Now that $2,000 got you a listing, right? So let's say you sold that listing and then you made, let's say, $15,000, right? Well, now if you're on this for a while, right? Okay, you run it for 5 months and you kind of know, okay, let's say I spent $2,000 to get this amount of leads, this amount of listing appointments, and this many listings, right? Well, at that point, if you don't spend more on your marketing, if you don't take that $2,000 into $4,000, right? Well, you are costing yourself, let's say the commission is $15,000 and the spend is $2,000. Well, you are costing yourself $13,000 per month by not increasing your advertising spend. So that's why it's super important that if you don't understand that sort of like systems thinking, right? You put this in, you get this out here, and you don't understand the feedback loop that kind of happens when you kind of start scaling up the ad spend. You'll be end up making the wrong decisions simply because you don't understand that. So a lot of times people, again, think that the less they spend, the better it is. But in fact, it could also be that if you have the proven system and everything works, you know the numbers behind these things, right? If you don't spend, you're actually losing out on more money than if you were to spend. And the interesting thing to think about it, again, with this model, if you don't understand this, right? If you don't increase your spend here and you're missing out on one listing a month, commission is $15,000. Well, throughout the year, you're actually costing yourself $170,000 a year. So that's why it's super important that, again, you have these mental models and you understand exactly not only how to get leads or not only how to spend money, but also how that money spent kind of turns back into the ROI you make, and then how that ROI will be able to grow your business and wealth in general. Now, the third layer of this is going to be human psychology. This is about understanding the psychology of the people you're looking to get as your clients and the people you work with at its core, and being able to play to those biases of that human mind. Now, if you don't know how to psychologically influence a local homeowner, a stranger you never met, to see you as the number one preference as a real estate agent, in a way you can break it down into practical steps and repeat over and over and over and over again, how do you ever expect to make your marketing work in a sustainable way? Now, when it comes to marketing principles, most people simply copy and paste what their peers are doing. And if you try to emulate what most agents are doing without understanding the underlying principles, it will never work. There are about 25 cognitive biases you and I and the local homeowners as well in your market as well have, and these biases are hardwired into our brains. They are what we use for a subconscious, automatic decision making all the time, and this accounts for pretty much 99.9% of the decisions we make as human beings in general. So the key thing to understand is that most people never make decisions 100% rationally. It's very rarely purely deductive reasoning, logic, things like that that make up the decisions, but we mainly make decisions based on these psychological biases. Now, understand these biases. If you implement these biases into your marketing, and you'll literally be light years ahead of your competition. This also applies into everything: your sales calls, appointments, text messages, emails. You need to know what people naturally respond to and how to influence people in a right ethical way. How to cause them to take actions that are in their own best interest is something you must learn and be able to implement in your business. Now, the next layer from here is going to be business disciplines. These are specific branches of knowledge in relation to being a real estate agent. Things like your marketing strategy, service delivery, personal branding, admin tasks. All of these things consist of specific actions you'll be taking on a daily basis. And a lot of realtors have issues in the first layer of the full stack, the cognition part. They kind of identify themselves as, okay, I'm not good at social media, I'm not tech savvy, or I'm not good at math and things like that. And that's totally okay. But the problem is that if that's what you tell to yourself, I'm not tech savvy, I'm not smart, or I'm not good at math, I'm not good at tech, right? If that's what you tell yourself, if that's what you identify as, it's very, very difficult to start learning these things and actually be really good at them. However, at the end of the day, as you know, anyone can learn these things. These things are not rocket science. Building a marketing system or a marketing process does not require a NASA engineer rocket science degree. It's simply about your willingness to open up to inevitable change that's happening all the time, every single day in the world right now. It's kind of like Charles Darwin said, it is not the strongest, it is not the most intelligent that survives, it is the one that is the most adaptable to change. So learn about these things, learn about servicing your clients, learning about your sales, learn about running your operations efficiently, learn about how marketing strategy works, learn about personal branding, learn how social media ads work, and learn how all these things work together, because that's going to allow you to become that top producer. That's going to allow you to run an effective business. The top producers I've met are proactive people who go out of their own way to learn about the knowledge, because there's a lot of knowledge in everything related to running a successful real estate business. And the key thing that they have is that they don't just delegate it. They don't have that ego where they say, okay, well, my assistant is going to be doing this, or I'm going to hand this off to somebody else, right? But they learn it themselves, and once they learn it themselves, they only delegate it when they know it themselves, because then they can actually manage other people and then judge whether what that person is doing for them is actually good or whether that is actually bad. And that's going to allow them to build and manage at scale successful real estate businesses. Now, the fifth layer of this is going to be practical processes. So these are a set of practical and actionable things and steps you take to achieve your desired results. These are the real world step-by-step things: how to conduct a listing appointment, how to send a follow-up text message with a high reply rate, how to create a step-by-step post, right, that builds up your authority as real estate agents. And what do you do step by step? What are the practical workflow processes that you implement on a daily basis? Now, first, of course, you want to master these 4 prior layers. You want to master cognition, you want to master mental models, psychology, business discipline, all these things. And then, of course, you'll be able to execute the processes in a very easy, high level and make them extraordinarily powerful. Again, because you understand all these things and how they connect together. Now, if you are a full stack real estate agent, you can do the work of 10 people by yourself, because you're so much more efficient and move 50 times faster than 10 people would as a team. If you master the full stack, you will be in the top 1% of real estate agents, but it is not going to be easy. It takes work, it takes discipline, it takes will to do it. So master the full stack if you do want to become the top 1% or even the top 0.1% of the real estate agents.